Let's go. Video 2 of 3 today, 527. I don't know what FB, did you mean to say Facebook? And you put in FB because that doesn't look like anything anyone would trade. Anyway, if it is, you have a mountain of sellers above, I wouldn't invest in this. But I don't know its P&L, so you may want to. You have support at 43. If you lose it, you're going down to 39. And a lot of sellers above. Fiverr. Don't do business with Fiverr. I've tried. Liars. Descending channel. Looks like Wall Street figured it out. Lower lows, lower highs. Going into a mountain of resistance. Anything above 27 should be difficult, especially around 30. If it gets to 30, it's shortable. Yes, hard bounce twice. So it's still easier to come down to 22 or 21. Stock in the middle of heavy volume of buyers and sellers. So be careful what you're chasing there. Here's a short-term visual to show you how easy it is to come down to 22. 23.5 to 22.5. Sorry. And you have a very sharp seller at 26.5. You need to overcome. And if you do, you look left, you got a mountains of sellers up there. GDX, so this is not gold. This is gold miners. If you're a fan of gold, just trade gold. Don't trade gold miners. I'll tell you why. Gold miners are companies. Here's a scenario. Market's correct. Gold takes off for some reason. These guys will not take off with gold. They will go with the market because they are companies. So if you're trading gold, trade GLD, not GDX. I do like to trade the GDX though. This here is not an obvious entry point. Closer to 32.50. Closer to 32.50 would be better. Let's drill down. A lot of support. So it's not going to be easy. First test 34.60 versus 36. Actually 36.2. Make a note of that. That's the last open candle up there on a 2-hour basis. Let's go one more. 36.2 again versus 33.5. 36.2, 33.5. Let's put a box. Since we did the homework. No, I want to leave it as a range. Is it global? We'll do it global. All right. The Google machine. Somebody asked for GOOG. It's the same concept. So make note. I'm not covering both. You have a huge seller from the earnings. So this will be a huge catalyst. If Alphabet can take that out, open season, right? So you can't really short it. Company fundamentals are super solid. So you're going with the market. This will go with the way of the market. Headlines galore. Gemini this, Gemini that, Apple this, Apple that. Just know that this is an amazing company. The next correction, you can buy the dip. Right here, I would probably just sell iron condors on it. I wouldn't go long or short. I would go neutral. Or if it dips into 170, I would try to go long as a trade, not an investment. There's no rush to get into as an investment. Gray television, what is that? It's trying to hold support. If you lose this support, it's open season lower. I don't know how low it goes. And it could look similar to this area here. If it rallies, like it looked like it rallied here and it's failing and it made a lower low. So here consolidated, broke out, made a lower low. I don't know about that. So hold 5.5, 5.4. Hold this. Otherwise, you're going much lower. And if you went long against this, okay, I get it. You're going long into support. Just have a stop. IBM, the puzzle company of the world, the most overappreciated company on the planet, in my opinion. One of the mega caps. So much potential never developed. They had the world, and then they gave it all up. But the stock still trades well. To me, the big pivot is 153. Solid support at 162 through 160, 158. And everything you see above current price is a huge island of, like, what is that? What is that? Who bought it up here? They need to consult a chartist for that. Just look left, people. Anyone bought it up here did not have a good time. What makes you think this time is different? So head and shoulder-ish looking. If you lose this, if you want to draw it this way, probably people see it. The downside is down here. So solid base of support. I think a mountain of resistance up here. It's easier to drift lower. Short-term comment, shortable. Intel, a pretty disappointing company. Not too long ago, it was larger than NVDA and AMD put together twice over. And I mean not too long ago. And now NVIDIA is as big as it. And solid support. You look left, mountains of support below. Like everything is support. And the market is at all-time highs, and this one is trying to hold support. Not a good situation. If you lose 29, you could end up in the mid to low 20s. It would make an excellent investment. The P&L is still good. It's not a crappy company, but it's getting worse pretty quickly. And leadership probably needs to come up and say, hey, we're about AI too, somehow. I mean, I'm a fan of Intel products. I have 2 Intel machines myself, replacing 2 AMD machines. Investment-wise, I could definitely nibble on Intel. If somebody wants to own stock for the long turnaround, and they wanted to own 1,000 shares and they bought 500 here and they'll buy 500 at 20 or 22, solid. Inter and Company, not to be confused with Intel. Don't know much about it. P&L looks solid. Chart never been higher. If you go long here, you definitely have ideas that I don't. If you're a trader, I would, okay, I get it, you're trading. If you're an investor, I want to caution you that it does swing trade. So just go like this from here to here. It rises and falls and rises and falls. So see if you can time the rhythm to go higher from here. Intuit, disappointment reaction on the earnings. Falling into support. If you lose said support, I think if this one loses 593-ish, you end up at 540, 530. A lot of unsettled candles down there. And must hold. Let's zoom in. These are old comments. We'll take them out. I think a rally into 630 plus or minus $2 or $3 is going to be met with a lot of sellers. It's going to be difficult to recover that high, which makes it easier to lose this support risk. I'll put a question mark here. Okay, be careful. Jack, don't know what that is. Oh, Jack in the Box. I almost said it's a funny one. I'll say it anyway. Gag in the bag. Not for me. 66 is going to be impossible to recover without a changing headline, like game-changing headline. Whoa, what is this? What the heck? Yeah, from an investment perspective, if I own shares, I am not adding here. From an investment perspective, if I'm looking to own shares, why? And if so, if I've done homework and I know something that is possibly lurking as a good news, I would take only half of a position. In case I'm wrong, I would add the second half way, way lower than here. This is pretty scary chart. You have immediate sellers at 59 or higher. Look at it right there. And not a lot of buyers at 52. So now the battle, 52, 59. 52 will get you to 48 if you lose it. 59 will get you a bunch of sellers, exit longs. JD, same comment as far as Baba, not for me. They busted through resistance after a second try. This did not play out. This played out. Now coming back into support, that makes sense. So this stock that broke out from this zone of 2850 is coming back into 2850. It should find this R is no longer R. Now it's support, the whole zone. So if somebody wants to go long into support, I get it. If somebody didn't go out of longs up here, I don't get it. Look left. It was a mountain of failures. And here is JEPI. What? What is a JEPI? JP Morgan Equity Premium Income. So I assume it pays dividends. Okay. So we're out of ideas. We just buy ETFs that people make up. Okay. 5750. The return of the JEPI. 5750 is a trigger that could probably get you a higher high than 5790. You see it? But I don't know what the heck that is. So what you should do is get into it and see what stocks are in there. Support a little bit below into 5640. I honestly don't know what to say, because if you're into this, I'm assuming you're into it for a dividend of sort. If so, then are you trying to time it, or I don't understand. Markets are at all-time highs. By the way, let me show you something here. RSP are not at an all-time highs. Looks like the RSP. Look at it. JEPI, RSP, same. So what is that? The RSP is the equal weighted S&P. So what we're saying, if you take out the top 5-6 companies in the S&P, we have not had an all-time high. Okay, so the market did not make highs. 5 stocks did and took the market with it. So this one is saying the same thing. I wouldn't pile in. I would accumulate a little bit over time. Correct. Okay, JP Morgan, another one. Are you serious with this? Okay, so this is what now? Equity premium income. How is this different than JEPI? Okay, so someone help me. What's the difference between these two? Different areas of the world? This is the XLV? I don't think it is. Anyway, I don't know what to say. Here, not an obvious entry point unless you're a breakout guy and you're looking to buy a breakout. So if you're holding calls here, this is a prior fail. It would make sense to buy the dip to take the breakout. But if you're holding calls or shares and you're okay on stopping out, if it doesn't play out, yep, it's a good trade. Otherwise, the same trade could be done by buying the dip. Oh, okay, yeah. All right, thanks. Not for me. Joe, coffee company? What is going on with these stickers today? All right, so a rally into 57.50, 58 is not going to be easy to cut through that. A high volume area, multiple fails for a long time, and it spreads through 59. On the other hand, you have a buyer at 55. If you lose it, you have a backup buyer at 54. And if you lose it, you have a backup buyer at 53 or lower. So you do have a couple levels of support and a giant barrage of resistance. So what's going to happen? I don't think a breakout is going to happen. So be careful hoping for a breakout. If I'm invested in this one, I would not use calls. If I'm wanted to trade it or invest in it, I would use shares or sell puts to own shares if it's liquid enough. I don't know enough about the company, so personally I would not sell puts. Lululemon, I would go long on dips, and this dip is falling into a huge base of support. Now the problem is the market is at all-time high, and we discussed this, and so it is tradable as long as you leave room for error, because it does have support through 260 and huge pandemic support that extends through 120. So one would assume that the very bottom is somewhere around 240 to 220, even if the market corrects 10, 15, 20%. One would make that assumption. I think it'll be a relatively okay assumption. If I'm long, I'm not adding. If I'm looking to get long, it's a decent starting point. My only hiccup is that the market itself is too high. Airline companies, hate them, all of them. All of them. This trend represents the state of affairs in airlines. So I realized something yesterday. So I was flying. Paying first class now gets you what you used to get for economy 10 years ago. That's what you get. A comfortable seat where you not have somebody sitting in your lap. That's basically what first class is. And a hot towel. That's it. because that's crazy. I don't know what's going on. Now this stock is has a buyer at 2180, a harsh seller at 3520. Ping pong inside those two zones. I wouldn't get long into 35. I wouldn't get short into 22. Now, if you lose 22 and 35, either of those breach, you go in that direction a lot. So if you lose 22 for whatever reason, doesn't look clear, you're going to like 14. If you take out 35 with conviction, you're probably going to 44. I don't know which will happen first, if either. Okay, so these are my, oh, look at this, my comments from before. From here, I said resistance, support, if you lose it, target. Cha-ching! So what we will do today, we will say check mark. And now resistance is again the problem and the opportunity to get you to here. If you take out 2850, you might get to 30. If you lose this, you go in here. That's within the comments of higher time frames. LVS, very similar scenario. Descending trend hasn't found support. So you see how many times they bounced off of 36-ish. Sorry, 44 right here. You would say 44, 44-ish, 44, 44. And if you lose it, these arrows are still in effect. Okay. Whoops. I hate when I do that. New keyboard too. What's your excuse now, Nick? New keyboard as well. Oh my gosh. The delete button is right next to the lock button, so I hit lock instead of delete. Oh my gosh. I'm laughing at myself. I apologize. Fly private. Yeah, okay. Resistance at 48. Support here. So if somebody went long into support, that's the proper way of, quote, trading the stock. If somebody's investing in it here, okay, I would not add to my investment if I'm already long. And if I'm investing, I would take half of a position, and if these arrows come to fruition, I would add the other half in two tranches. One half of the half and then the other half of the half. Macy's, pretty amazing recovery as far as business is concerned, because they really bungled it up after Amazon killed them almost. But they finally survived. So let's see how they do. We have a very extreme low, a very extreme high, and somewhere in the middle they are. So that makes sense. And then again, high, low, somewhere in the middle. And then you can reduce it down to the fact that, okay, we have a resistance support at 16, resistance at 25, ping pong inside those zones. That's the big picture. Earnings in 80 days, so there's nothing, no catalyst now. I would assume that this is going to be difficult to overcome 2150. So maybe easier to drift a little bit lower, but there's tons of support. So what am I trading? Nothing. It's just stuck here. If I'm an investor, I'm not doing anything. Mara, same comments on Bitcoin. If you're trading Mara because of Bitcoin, you should just trade Bitcoin. Mara has Mara issues. Bitcoin doesn't have Mara issues. And Mara has stock market issues. Bitcoin does not have stock market issues on its own. 23 plus is the catalyst. 23 plus is not easy. It might get there. That's an exit point, in my opinion, not an entry point. So if you went long at 20 to get to 23, I would make that a target. 23, 24, I'm out. 28 could come if Bitcoin breaks out and if the stock market doesn't fall apart before then. Bunch of support spread across the bottom. Mongo. We've traded Mongo successfully. Up here is not an obvious entry point. Anything above 400 looks difficult, like extremely difficult, like more difficult than losing support at 320. You lose support at 320, you're coming down to 240, 250. That would be an amazing entry point. So better not lose this guy. So not to do this. Those are important comments. That's the big picture. Anything above 400, 420 is impossible right now. I just don't see them doing it. We'll see. You can take this candle right there and put a box around it and say, The battle is inside this candle. So the bulls are trying to hold this candle. That's not good. You lose this candle, you're probably going to lose this bottom that they just placed. MELI, good company. Not an obvious point of entry. So it kills me because MELI people are usually investors. And when they come to me down here and I say, you can go long partially, they don't. And then it comes up to these levels and everybody wants to get long it. I don't get it. If you're an investor, you should love the fact that people hate MELI and it's below $1,000. Look at the money you could have made if you bought it at 600. So just buy the next dip. Up here, there's no rush. Look left. It's prior fail, prior fail, prior fail. So you say, oh, it's good, and now I feel comfortable. Well, it was still good down here, and you should have felt comfortable. Buy it when it's uncomfortable. You like saying Mercado Libre. Brad, I don't get that. Meta. So did it have a good day on Friday? It did. Okay, it needed to have a good day. So suddenly Meta is the underperformer of the mega caps when it was the one that couldn't stop rallying. Look at the white circles. Draw another one. I didn't draw one recently. There you go. And you can draw another one now. Now what? So if you don't take that out and you lose 460, you're going to end up at 440. And if you do pop from here, I would exit at 508 because 508 is going to be big resistance. Anywhere in here is going to be resistance. So any pop, I would take the money and run. Look left, huge volume on this time frame. So be careful chasing it blindly. MOS. We're going to need to eat well and feed more people because it seems like we're fixing every sickness there is, and we're going to have exponential growth of people, and that's not going to be good. So we need superfoods. I think Mosaic can help with that. From an investment perspective, I get it, but why is the P&L going the wrong way? So the chart represents the P&L. I don't mind it. So just look at my screen. Up here, I drew this blue thing, and I said support. It might rally, it might dip. It rallied a little bit more than I thought it would. They cut through all the resistance and then failed at level resistance. If you look left, that's probably not a coincidence. And they came down to the target, check. So that blue zone was the target. And now they're doing it again. So my comments were already there. I don't need to say anything. So be careful with Mosaic. You might drift lower. Microsoft, great company. There's nothing wrong with it. It's at all-time highs. It's an NOPE for me. Nope. I'm going to tell you, I'm a big fan of Microsoft products. I've never owned Apple, and Microsoft's starting to feel like Apple and starting to piss me off. And so how many of us will jump out of Microsoft? Consider it. If they become Apple, then I will go with Apple. They have better machines. So I'm with Microsoft because I have some autonomy, and they keep taking autonomy from me. So the more they become like Apple, the less I like them. Anyway, the company is on rails. Buy the dip up here. It's an NOPE, not an obvious point of entry. Trading wise, there's plenty to trade, but it's just like the S&P. The first chart I started today had an S&P chart that looks kind of like this, right? A high, a low, and the 520 cave. Same thing. And by the way, Microsoft is the S&P. It is the largest company. And Netflix. Netflix has become a good mature company, so now it's being judged as a mature company. Now this chart on the daily is shortable with a stop. So if you sell a call spread, that's probably the best way of doing it. This way you can short it and leave room for error. The short is not against this. It's a W formation, so a harmonic that can retrace. So I'm going to say this. If we have a red week in the market, this one is vulnerable. Fundamentally, it's not a short. It's a good company, excellent management, very confident. It's impressive, almost annoying, but it's impressive. Nike, impressive management. What the heck's going on with the stock? Look at the sales. This is definitely an opportunity for an investor to pick up some Nike stock. I wouldn't add to my positions, but it is definitely at a closer to a bottom than a top. as opposed to the market, closer to top to bottom, which is bad for Nike. What if the market actually corrects? This one will be back in pandemic levels? That just doesn't make sense. So if I would take longs in Nike here as a stock, and I would double down at 60 if the pandemic levels come. Olympics? When are the Olympics? November. This is the diet stock, right? Novar or whatever. Novartis. Okay, anyway. Sellers, buyers, you're in the middle. No decision from the chart. Decision is that 1920 looks difficult to take out. 1940, 1960. So I think it's easier to drift a little bit lower. Nothing nasty, just into 1740. Visually speaking, it's easier to drop to 1740 from here. This is a short-term comment on trading. ServiceNow, it's a buy the dip stock, in my opinion. This dip is not that big. This is not NVO. Okay, so it's not a diet stock. Thank you for the comment there. I appreciate it. All right, Novartis. Okay, my bad. So ServiceNow, my comments stand on NVO, by the way, on Novartis. This looks like a dip to buy, but it isn't. It's a dip into support, but I don't know if I would buy it, because if I'm looking at this, there might be a double dip down to 680. And if the market's correct, losing 680 will get you to 620. Now, I don't mean to get people to buy puts in it. This is a long-term daily... I'm so consistent. This is it. You don't want to lose this one, this level. So let's zoom in and see where that stuff is inside. I said vulnerable. Look at that. Vulnerable. Vulnerable. So you almost did both vulnerable arrows based on that red W. And so now the fact that they're below 760 and 765 is a problem. But they have a bunch of buyers below. They could drift to 708. Let's see if they do. It's a pretty good fight. I like it. See, I don't even need to make any comments. They're already there. Energy. Another mystery. Stock price looks parabolic, and you look at the P&L, and it's just flat as a pancake. What is going on with this world? What is happening? Is it a dividend play? Is that what they do? They pay dividends? Where is the dividend tab? I never look at it. They pay dividends, 50 cents, 40 cents. They do, 40 cents. AI play. Well, if it's an AI play, short the hell out of it. If it's an AI play. Energy consumption going through the roof. Okay, so why are these guys not collecting the sales? If it's going through the roof, why are your sales flat to down? So I don't get it. No margin whatsoever. Texas, most of its income, and the East, whatever that means. I think this is just a pure dividend play. That's it. Look at the debt they have, which is probably, that's what they do in that business. It's just a dividend play. That's all there is to it. Well, okay, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Somebody taking a dividend play and they're getting 40 cents and then the stock drops $30. There goes 16 years of 40 cents. So, not for me. Definitely not for me. Study the company. I may be blind to one of its benefits. Study the company. This is probably a cheap short. I'm going to put it on my watch list just because I don't know what it is. I need to educate myself on it. Okay, that's pretty funny. NTNX, smart homes. Okay, whatever it is, the sales are not growing. The stock is growing too much. That's all. That's my point. You can tell me all kinds of exciting business it's in. It's not reaping the benefit of that excitement. Okay, that's just my comment. Sales not growing. It's horsepucky. Okay, so this one, not an obvious entry point, but look at that. They're breaking out from a prior fail. So I wouldn't touch this because it's one of those NT and THTH. It's too high to chase and too hot to short. I don't know what's going on, and it's breaking out, and it has a P&L and its earnings in 2 days. So you can come to me before the earnings to see if it has enough volume and the options to give us some clues. But whoa, that is insane. New NU, new holding, whatever. Let's see. We had a center point, and they're still pivoting around it. At one time, they just sliced right through it. You still have a support in the circle and sellers above. You're stuck. I don't think you're going to be able to take out that 1260, 1270. If you do, you have upside. Otherwise, buy the dip into 1050. NVIDIA, I've heard of it. I have heard of it. I think they do something to do with AI. No? Maybe? I've heard of it. Okay, what do you want? What is the question? Investing? Sure. Up here? Never. It's going to 2000. Okay, then buy it. Don't ask me. It's just made an all-time high. What's the question? Where can I buy it? Not here. For me, it would have to fall to the 700s for me to buy it. What? 700s? That's going to take forever. I have time. There are 2,000 other stocks I can chase. This is not for me. See you in 2050. Okay. You want to make a bet about it? You want to bet? You and me. We know each other personally. $100 bucks. That if we're alive in 2050, $100 bucks, 100 contemporary dollars, 100 bitcoins. No. I'll bet you a bitcoin. No, also not. Wait for the split to buy NVIDIA. Oh my gosh. And the funny part is we predicted the split. We predicted the split. That was so funny. The whole conversation. Yeah. Anyway, excellent company. It's hard for me to chase it at an all-time high. Find a level of support when it dips into on some crazy market reaction. And I'm not talking 1 or 2 bad days, unless you're an actual trader. If you're an investor and you're not in NVIDIA now, why is the rush into NVIDIA? It's a breakout, yes, of course. What do I know about charts? Nothing. Just go long. Go long NVIDIA anytime. NXPI. Same comment. Why now? What's the rush? Same comment. All these rising wedges, they never hold. Look at them. I don't care how good the company is. They all have retracements. It's how stock market works. Look at these. It's like clockwork. Just take one of these and go from any, close my eyes, click on 2 lines and put them together. You will get the same rhythm. So just match them up. Let's see here. Rally here, right there. Rally dip. Check it out. I put it here, right? Is that perfect? We got the here, just a little bit off with time. You got it, the same one. So just catch a rhythm. Catch it on the flip side. Buy the dip into where? 260 is pivotal and 240 something. You have some weird candles at 220. So if it falls into 220, that's the prior breakout level. That's an excellent entry opportunity, trading or investing. Up here, if I'm long, I'm not adding. If I'm looking to get long, I could probably wait a few weeks and be okay with it. Onion, no, on. I do have a couple of those shoes. They're very comfortable. Everybody loves them. I don't think they're that pretty, but if everybody else thinks they're pretty, what do I care, right? Okay, so you tell me if it's a good idea to go into the stock inside of its massive monthly failure. These are a month. This is a month here. In fact, God dang it. This is a whole month right there. That candle is 1 month. And it opened at the very bottom of it at 34, closed at exactly where we're at right now. It rallied all the way to 56 and failed in the same month. So be careful. Where do you chase it? It's definitely a breakout. Do not short it. They have a good P&L and they're in a breakout mode. So if you're a momentum trader, chase it. If not, buy the dip where anywhere below 35 would make sense. And here's 1850 on path, better hold. If you lose 1850, you're going to go to 14. Support, but if you lose it, it's actually going lower than 14, but I'm going to tell you that 14 would be a good resting spot. I think that this much downside would be immediate, as opposed to the actual, look at that, I eyeballed it perfectly. Technically, it's all of this downside, which doesn't seem right. Okay, unless the P&L is crappy. Oh, and earnings in 2 days. Oof. All right, so how about this? I think it'll either soar or collapse on earnings. I don't think it does anything half-assed. We'll see what happens. So I either see you at 14 or 26 this at the end of the week. Let's look at it before the earnings. Somebody remind me. PDD. This is not Pinduoduo, as multiple people think it is. This is not Pinduoduo. It's some other company. It's an investment company. P&L is pretty solid. Probably a dividend play. Don't know what to say. God dang it. With this freaking microphone arm. Oh my gosh. And I paid money for this. Sorry, YouTube. I didn't cuss, did I? No. Okay. So, Pinduoduo? No, it isn't. PDD. Not an obvious entry point. It is a good P&L. I don't know what to say about it. Just buy the dip. If you're an investor and you're desperately wanting to go long, I wouldn't take more than 10 or 20% of my allotment. Use any dips to do it. And if you don't think it's going to dip, just look left. It's dipped many times. Is it the holding company? How come it's not based in China? Based in Ireland. Multinational commerce group that owns and operates a portfolio of businesses. Interesting. Okay. Thank you for that. Not for me up here. Most definitely not for me. Definitely not for me. It's just not an obvious entry point. Somebody might know the internals of the company. And that brings us to the end of video 2.